It's Patio Side Chats with Fernando Martinez from Chaparral Pavers with tips and advice on landscaping and gardening. Here's Fernando Martinez.
Yes, indeed. Hello and welcome. Come on in. Glad to see you. Glad you could be here today to chat with me about all things landscaping and gardening and contracting and design ideas for your outdoor space. And yeah, just generally information about what's going on in the landscaping world. Today's show is going to be about water features. We've had shows in the past about talking about how important features are to an area of especially outdoors and landscaping, because I really, truly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, without them, it's going to be way less useful. So we have to have these features, and water features is definitely a nice one. It can bring the outside in by as simple as opening a window and hearing that beautiful sound of the water. So I want to talk a little bit about setting them up, the different kinds of hoses that are involved, pumps, leveling it, and how does the water sound? How is it going to sound when you set it up, and how to change that sound and vary it, because you certainly can, and there's multiple ways of doing that. So also I want to talk a little bit about hiring a contractor. And we've had, again, we do enough of these shows now. We cover all these topics, and I like to go back and kind of review, and I get new experiences every week. And so today I wanted to talk to you about a phone call that I had this week regarding a job that was not completed by a contractor, and what happened in the case of the caller, and also, what my advice is before you hire a contractor, what can happen, and what kind of the end result ends up being, and what your options are. So let's talk about that first, and then we'll get into the water features. So when it comes to hiring a contractor, there's a couple things that I want you, actually a few things that I want you to really think about and make a checklist and make sure 100% that you do, so you don't find yourself in a troublesome situation. And, nobody wants to get involved in lawsuits, or you said, or he said, or having a bad experience. To me, it's really more about that, the experience of, when you're making a choice to hire a contractor, ask yourself, what kind of experience am I going to have? Is this going to be a wonderful, open communication? They're going to listen to my ideas, do what I want. They're going to be professional, and the job's going to be done in a timely manner. It's going to be a good quality job. Those questions are way more important than how much the job's going to be, because the cost of the job can sometimes be elusive. You might be thinking that you're getting this great deal, but if you don't have a great experience, or, God forbid you have a horrible experience and a bad time, that's money. You're spending that money to, no one, I don't think, has the intention of spending a bunch of money to have a really bad experience. So it's crucial that you understand, before you hire the contractor, ask yourself, am I going to have a great experience? And it's tough. It's difficult to know that ahead of time, but there are clues, and there's lots of them, and there's things that you can do to kind of set yourself up for having that. And again, it's not all about price. Yes, you want to get a good price for what you want done, but it needs to be reasonable, and it needs to be in line with what it should cost, so that you don't find yourself in a situation where they're asking for more money because they underbid the job, or they're walking away from the job because they don't have, enough money to finish it, because they didn't charge you enough money to begin with. So now here's what you can do to prevent that, or at least set yourself up for the best experience that you can have, is number one, first and foremost, ask if there are a licensed contractor. And do not be embarrassed. Any licensed contractor is going to be absolutely glad to say yes and show you their contractor's license. We work hard to get it. We pay the money for it. We get the insurance and the bond and everything for it. and then nobody asks for it. So when someone does ask me personally for my contractor's license, I say, absolutely, let me show it to you. I provide them with a copy of it with the estimate or with the contract so that they know that I'm a licensed contractor and they have the contractor's number on there. So that does several things for you. Number one, because believe me, even within the licensed contractors, you still have to choose somebody that you think you're going to have a good experience with. Just because they're a licensed contractor doesn't mean you're going to have a great experience. And I'm going to get to the call here in a second because that was the case with the caller. Now, but at least it gives you an idea that they could go pass a test and get a license and go through the trouble to do that in their trade, and that they're a legitimate business that does that for a living, because you do have to have knowledge. You have to have 4 years experience in your trade in order to get a contractor's license. And you have to be able to pass the test that says, supposedly that you know how to do the trade that you're asking for the license for. And I mean, it's really not an extremely difficult test, but it's one that needs to be passed, and at least you can start with that. The other thing that it does is it gives you a governing body that governs contractors, and that goes across the board. It's not just landscape contractors, it's all contractors, from engineers, which are Class A, the general contractors, which are the Class B licenses, and all the trade contractors, which are called C-class licenses, C27, C18, or whatever they're. When you see that number, and don't be fooled, a lot of these guys, they love to play on I'm licensed to fool you. They don't care that they're not a contractor. They don't care whether you understand what a contractor is or not, or they wouldn't do it. I see it all the time. They give you their business license number. Anybody can walk down to the city and get a business license. You put a fictitious business name in the newspaper, you go down to the bank, you get a business bank account, and you ask for a city business license, and you're a business. That does not make you a contractor in a trade. And again, I'm sure I've said it 100 times, and everybody should know this, $500 is the threshold. Any job, materials, and labor over $500, you have to be a contractor, a licensed contractor, not a licensed business. We're not talking about your driver's license. I don't know what these guys do. They put the number on there. It's a really low number. It'll start with a number 1. It's only 5 digits. Most contractor license numbers are going to be 6 digits. And I say most because that's, within the last few years, or 15, 20 years, they all have 6 digits. They're into 7-digit numbers now. So it should be a large number, and it's really easy to look up. And if you see a C27 or C17 or C8 or something like that, then yes, that's a contractor's license. They're telling you that they're Class C trade, and the number that comes after that is the number of the trade. And you can look all that up on CSLB.com. That's the California State License Board. Really easy to look up very quickly and see if it's active license. You can see if they have workers' comp insurance there. And that governing body, which is that California State License Board, has jurisdiction over the contractors. So if you have an issue with a licensed contractor, you can contact this California State License Board, and there's things they can do. You have options there. You have some power. You can file a report with them or a complaint, and that complaint would show up, if it's real and they find out that the contractors is doing something that's either illegal or they're not doing it, what they promised they were going to do in the contract or whatever, they will show up there. That's another reason to look it up, because you can see if there's any complaints against that license or if it's been suspended or whatever for whatever reason. So that's number one. Start with that. And then, of course, the insurance, they should be providing you with copies of the workers' comp insurance. They should have liability insurance. Those are 2 different things. Liability insurance protects the property if they were to do any damage to the property, and then the workers' comp obviously protects if any workers get injured on your property, it would be covered by that workers' comp insurance and not your insurance, your homeowner's insurance, or you wouldn't be responsible in any way. Remember, if you hire an unlicensed contractor or and you don't do your due diligence, you are actually breaking the law too. So you're going to have possibly some liability there. So definitely ask and do not be embarrassed, because they should be happy to tell you. So that gives you some power. And then read the contract. Make sure you get a written contract. I mean, it's almost, it seems obvious, but maybe it's not. So get a written contract and make sure there's warranties on there. They're spelling out exactly everything, what they're going to do, including names of materials or types of brands that they're going to use. It should be very specific, exactly what they're going to do, square footages, linear footages, colors, unless they're saying, hey, we'll do that in our contracts as color to be determined, or client to, pick out the paver, ahead of time before we purchase them. So that it should have some sort of wording in there where you would have options of choices of picking things out, or you can decide on the plant names later, whatever. But there should be a quantity. What we do is we'll do how many 5 gallons or 15 gallons or 1 gallons, and then the quantities of plants are there. And that way we know, if we said it was going to take 25 gallons and we use 18, you should get credit back for 2 plants. And so, look at all that, and the time frames should be in there as well, when they're going to start and when they're going to finish by. So if you get all that stuff and you check all this list off, then start thinking about price. Then start thinking about the deal, and start thinking about what things would cost. You can look things up online. And that way you can really set yourself up for success. Look at body language of people. Are they really confident in what they're talking about? Does it seem like they've done it 100 times? Are they unsure? Do they have to, go home and check and come and then call you, 2 weeks later, we found out what, a light costs or whatever. They should know a lot of the things, and they should be able to at least give you a ballpark, on site while they're there during the estimate. And so all those things are clues, and that way you can kind of prevent, at least, you give yourself a really good chance of having a great experience, and that's what I want for you. And so think about that. Now, the caller called me and wanted me to go over there and fix a job that was done incorrectly, and it's really difficult. So the options of if you, and she's saying that it was a licensed contractor. I don't know that to verify that, but that's what I was told. And that, some story was given, and they started a paver job. They didn't finish it, and the pavers were moving up and down. Water was draining back in the wrong direction towards the house, and they're wanting me to go out there and fix it. So it's really, I feel bad, for these people. And I was like, gosh, it tugs at my heartstrings. But the solution for me is there's just really nothing that I can do, because I can't go there and touch that job and try to fix it when it's wrong. If the correct amount of base wasn't used underneath, they weren't laid right to begin with, maybe the edge restraint isn't correct. I'd have to just tear it all out and charge the same price of what I would charge to install something brand new, plus the cost of the demolition. So I don't know. I'm trying to help you not get in that position, and I think people do it because, and I don't know this about the caller necessarily, but a lot of times when I get that call and I ask them, well, what were they charging you for? And I see what the area is, and it's usually a really low number. And I think that's how a lot of people get in trouble. Not always, but it could be the case. So what can you do if you're in that situation? Like we were talking about, contact the CSLB, and every contractor's license has a bond. It's not valid if you do not have a bond. And now, what is a bond that's attached to this contractor's license? That is, in the case of the caller, exactly the position that she was in. They started the job wasn't installed correctly, they didn't finish. It was months and months after they said they were going to finish, the job still wasn't finished. Thank goodness you didn't pay them in full. And that's the other thing. Don't give the contractor that money until, they finish the job. At least you can make payments to them, but don't pay them in full until the job is 100% complete. They were asking her for that money and then more money on top. So that kind of led me to believe maybe they had not charged enough to begin with and were kind of in a bind. So stay out of that position. the bond will actually cover finishing that job up to $12,500. So if that's the case, then that's what the bond's for. And if you hired a licensed contractor and you have that contractor's number, you can contact that bond company and tell them, hey, I'm in this situation of what this bond is for on the license is they didn't finish the job. And that bond company will take and pay to have that job completed up to $12,500. It used to be $10,000. They raised it. And they can hire another contractor, finish it, and the bond company will pay for it. It's your protection. That's what it's there for. And so to not use that or not go after that bond, if you're having an experience with a contractor and they're not finished, they told you they're going to finish, they didn't finish, and they're telling you they're not going to finish the job unless you give them more money, you call the bond company and you tell them the situation that you're in, and that's what it's for. It's to cover those. Now, if a bond company called me and I told the lady, give them my name and number, and if they want to hire another contractor to finish it right and pay me to do it, then I'm happy to go there and do it. I'll rip it all out. We'll put it in right, put a warranty on it, and it'll be a done deal. So you do have options if you hire licensed contractors. Okay, enough about that. Now, let's go back to water features. We're kind of jumping around here a little bit, but I want to end on a good note today and positive because the water features are so awesome. The sound of water is so soothing, and I've done 2 of them this week, and so I wanted to talk about them and setting them up, which is pretty simple depending on how you do it. I mean, fountains probably are my least favorite water feature, but I would rather see a fountain than not having one. And the reason is because they hold very little water. The pumps can be hard to get to. They can be hard to level. And it just depends on, there are some fountains that hold a lot of water, and those are the better ones for sure. And then they have what we call a little fountainscape, ones where you can bury an aqua basin in the ground. It's like a reservoir of water that holds a lot of water underground. Nice big door, easy to get to the pump. And you can put an urn or a basalt stone on top and have the water flowing out of there. Really nice way of doing water features, probably my favorite way. And then you can do something really like elaborate with a stream or waterfalls or something like that. And you can do it out of the liner or the poured in place concrete. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Whatever works for you. I just absolutely love the sound of water. And again, not just only enjoyed while you're outside. You can enjoy water features from inside the house by opening up a window. I love them near office windows. So if you're working in your office and you've got the computer on or whatever, you open the window and you can hear the sound of the trickling water. So when you're doing the placement of that water feature, think about where is the most centrally located area that you have visual contact, because even looking at water features is quite beautiful if you can get the right kind of frothy look. And then the sound should sound good throughout the house, and try to get as many areas and many windows as possible. You can light them up in the evening with little night lights and run the fountain in the evening as well. So, I mean, there's just so many good things about them. They can cost as little as $200-$300 for a fountain. You could spend $1,500, a couple grand for a medium-sized water feature, and then, of course, you can go as elaborate as you want. All the way up to koi ponds, too, can be considered water features. Those are going to be the most extravagant. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about setting it up. I did one where I took a fountain and put it on top of the aqua basin, and I just hooked hoses up to that through that pump, that big door that I'm talking about, which is, again, my favorite way of doing it. And you can drill a hole through the bottom of it and have it dripping over what would be the bowl and down into that basin. So that's an amazing way to set it up. The flex hoses they have at all hardware stores and box stores, it's really easy to get a hold of. There's fountain pumps there too as well. However you choose to do it, just definitely get yourself the sound of water in your landscaping. You're going to be extremely happy. Okay, we'll be right back after the break. Remember, you can always catch us on the web, lovetocomehome.com. Check out our YouTube channel. You can hear this radio show and all our radio shows there on YouTube. You just type in Chaparral Pavers. Okay, we'll see you on the other side of the break.
You're listening to Patio Side Chats with Fernando Martinez from Chaparral Pavers on California's Central Coast. Here on 1240 AM and 99.5 FM, KSMA.
Chaparral Pavers. ILoveToComeHome.com. Imagine the flickering flames and warmth of a fire pit, soothing sounds of trickling water, decorative lighting, highlighting your landscape at dusk. Driveways and patios, not only functional, but a work of art. This is what Chaparral Pavers does for your landscape lifestyle. You'll love to come home. Chaparral Pavers. Visit us now at ILoveToComeHome.com.
If you're thinking about installing a new paver patio or paver driveway, check out Chaparral Pavers online at ILoveToComeHome.com. Serving the Central Coast since 2001, Chaparral Pavers will work with you to get it right and complete the job to your specifications, as customer service is king at Chaparral Pavers. Paver driveways are stylish and durable and guaranteed to never crack. If your old concrete driveway or entryway is a hazardous cracking mess, it's time to call Chaparral Pavers. Go to their website, ILoveToComeHome.com. You'll find all the information you need. Check out photographs of past installations and reviews from Central Coast residents who have used Chaparral Pavers. And don't forget, all installations are guaranteed for the life of your home. So check out Chaparral Pavers online at ILoveToComeHome.com. Chaparral Pavers, they'll make you love to come home. Now, back to Patio Side Chats with Fernando Martinez from Chaparral Pavers on KSMA.
And we're back. Okay, we are talking about hiring contractors and being smart about it, having a great experience from the estimate all the way through to the end of the job. And I gave you a little checklist there about hiring licensed contractors, making sure they have insurance and they have a bond that's valid and their license is active and all that stuff. You just go to that website, cslb.com. Don't forget to ask them for their license number, even during the estimate, and find out who you're dealing with and really set yourself up for success. Please, it will pay in dividends large in the long run. And so definitely you'll be thanking yourself that you did that for sure. So we're also talking about water features and all the different ones that can be used, but it really doesn't matter what kind you have as long as you get that wonderful, beautiful sound of water out in your yard. So I was talking about these aqua basins that you bury in the ground, and you can put urns. These basalt columns, I don't know if you know what basalt columns are. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're made from volcanic rock that's erupted over years and years and years, and they make this columns, and they super hard stone, and they drill holes through the middle of it, and you can put the flexible tubing in there and have them bubble. They're absolutely gorgeous, and they are pretty simple setups. If you don't feel like taking on that project yourself, of course, you can call a professional and have it done. But it's just, they're amazing. Yeah, they all sound different, even within the basalt stones. If you did the exact same water feature, if you were, a contractor like me setting them all up, it's very interesting to me. They all sound different. And of course, the single basalt columns sound different than the triple basalt columns, where you have three of them, different heights and bubbling out. I absolutely love that look. And I love the sound of it. I was telling you, I have a fountain that's at my house that's near and dear to my wife's heart. She's had it for a long time. And as I've said, the fountains are my least favorite, a little bit frustrating. And I've fought with that thing over the years to get it to work and to hold water and cleaning it out, the catching the leaves and everything. But it was still worth having the sound of the water. But now that I put that aqua basin in the ground, I ran a tube. It's a little square, flat plate, and maybe 4 or 5 inches deep only. So it can't hold more than 5-6 gallons of water, which was really the problem with it. And the basin underneath now holds 90 gallons of water. Now, interesting question that I get asked is, oh my gosh, 90 gallons of water, isn't that a waste of water? You're wasting it. No, it recirculates, number one. All systems, I haven't know that I've ever even seen a water feature that didn't recirculate. You fill it one time. 90 gallons of water really is not that much water at all. 1 unit of water that you get charged for at your home, when they're billing you for waters, 1 unit is 750 gallons. 1 unit. So, we go through some water. 90 gallons is nothing. And it's a very small amount of water. And but it's a large amount of water in fountain world so that it doesn't run out so fast. And it's not a frustrating experience. It could run that water feature with a little tiny bit of splashing and evaporation that's going to happen with any water. And it's functional. You can actually live with it and only have to, top it off maybe once a month or something. So really user friendly. And what I did was I ran, it has that flat plate. It's about like 6 inches deep, like I was telling you, 5-6 inches, whatever it is. And then a little frog that spits water out. Now that was before the only part of the water of the sound was just the water coming out of the frog's mouth with a little spitter, which was fine, but it wasn't the greatest sound in the world. Now I drilled a hole through the bottom of that, it looks like a square, I want to say a plate, but I guess it's kind of a square bowl if there is such a thing. But I drilled a hole in the middle, attached the pipe to the middle part where the water was actually going in before to recycle back to the frog's mouth. And now I have a pipe coming straight from that basin below, making a 6-8 inch frothy stream of water coming up, making all kinds of sound. Plus I stuck another pump in there and ran that to the frog's mouth. So the frog spitting, the center of that bowl is frothing up. And once that bowl fills up, all the water is flowing over the edges of that bowl and back down into that basin. The sound is incredible, way better. Also, you can use a shutoff valve to reduce the flow of the water, and that'll slow it down, and that'll also change the way it sounds. That's all the time we've got today. Thank you for joining me. Go to ilovetoComeHome.com and find out more about Chaparral Pavers. Also, check us out on YouTube. Type in Chaparral Pavers, and we will see you next week.
This has been Patio Side Chats with Fernando Martinez from Chaparral Pavers. Go to ilovetoComeHome.com to find out more, or call 805-588-6917. And be sure and tune in next week at this same time for Patio Side Chats here on KSMA.